Hello, my name is Wayne Tungs and welcome to Rate This Pop. Thank you for all the lovely feedback that I've received for the past two videos. I really do enjoy hearing from you. So remember, you can like us on the socials. We've got Facebook and Twitter. Remember to subscribe to the page and press like on this video. Thank you so much for that. Today, we are going to count down the top 10 boy bands from the 1990s. Now, with this list, some of the boy bands that are on it will have had songs in the 2000s or in the 80s. They won't be counted. I'm only looking at the 90s, which means that the order might not be the same as if I was doing best boy bands of all time. But let's get on with it. Actually, the number one would still stay the same. But let's get on with it. And my number 10 boy band from the 1990s is 98 Degrees. I do love boy bands. I love girl groups, love boy bands. I love pop music. It's just escapist fun. I know it's not the best music in the world, but I don't care. I want stuff that I can emote to, that I can dance to, that I can sing really loudly when I am driving in my car. And I do sing all of this stuff very loudly. 98 Degrees. They had one album in the... No, actually, they had two albums in the 90s. They had 98 Degrees and then 98 Degrees Rising. And both were good albums. The second album was the one that I enjoyed more. It had Because of You and The Hardest Thing. Some really great songs. They had some really good remixes as well that I really enjoyed. And I think I'd probably listen to the remixes of their songs more. I think 98 Degrees is really known for Nick Lachey marrying Jessica Simpson. And then, of course, they both went on to have other marriages and do great things. But that was what they were really known for at the time. And that very interesting reality TV show that I don't know if it sold Jessica very well. I always loved her. I think she's got a pure heart. But I don't think it did a very good job in selling her. But when you get back to the music, 98 Degrees had some really fun pop songs. All right, coming in at number 9... NSYNC. If I was doing the best boy bands of all time, NSYNC would go higher up the list. But they only had one album in the 90s. So their self-titled debut album, NSYNC, came out in 1999 and had some amazing singles. I Want You Back, Tearing Up My Heart, You Drive Me Crazy, God Must Have Spent a Little More Time on You. I don't think I'd ever say that in real life, but in a song you can say that kind of stuff and still make it a great song. And they also did that fantastic duet with Gloria Estefan, Music of My Heart, from the film of the same name that starred Gloria Estefan and Meryl Streep. Great song. Beautiful. I mean, we all know that Justin Timberlake went off to be one of the biggest pop stars of all time. It was a great group. I think they found their feet more with their second album. Like Bye 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 is just quintessential boy band brilliance. And I love that song. And sadly, it's from 2000. But I did enjoy the first album, which is why they still made the top 10. But I enjoyed their stuff a little bit more as they went on. Okay, coming in at number 8 is E17. The Brits always did boy bands really well. And E17 are interesting ones. They've had a very interesting journey as they went along, where members came and went and seemed to really hate each other. I did see them just a few short years ago at Luna Park in Sydney, and it was only 2 of the original members left, and it was the 2 guys that didn't do the main singing. Here's some photos I took. They had a new frontman. I wasn't sure who he was. I enjoyed it, and it was fun hearing the songs, but certainly wasn't the best live show that I had ever seen. But in the mid-90s, E17 had some really great music, and that first album was amazing. Like, if you look at the songs, it had House of Love, Deep, their cover of West End Girls, which is questionable. I don't know if that was something they should have covered, but still, it was a hit. And It's Alright, which was an Australian number 1, deservedly so. I think it is one of the best boy band songs of the 90s, possibly ever. It is just such a fantastic song. The build in it is fantastic, starting off with that piano before it gets into something really euphoric that makes you want to sort of jump up and down. That was going off in clubs in the 90s. I danced to it in clubs in the 90s, and it was a lot of fun. Great band. They backed it up. Their second album had some great stuff as well. Stay Another Day, which is still a British song that gets pulled out every year in England for Christmas. Steam, great song. And from their Greatest Hits album, they did a cover of If You Ever with Gabrielle. Love Gabrielle. And the cover was really, really good. So I like A17. I don't think their music has aged as well as some of the others on this list, but I do like A17, and I will fight you if you don't. Coming in at number 7 is Westlife. Like NSYNC, Westlife only had one album in the 90s, but I think it was a better debut album to NSYNC, whereas I might have enjoyed more of NSYNC stuff later. Westlife really sold it on that first album. The singles, Swear It Again, brilliant. If I Let You Go, I think I like that even more. Flying Without Wings, that's probably my favourite on that. And then they had I Have a Dream and Seasons in the Sun, and I really liked Seasons in the Sun. And I Have a Dream, the ABBA cover, that's like my mum's favourite ABBA song, and she loves ABBA. So it's got special meaning for me. I think those 5 guys sounded so good together, and they did go on and have some more amazing songs as well. I think sort of later on, songs like Queen of My Heart and Bop Bop Baby are probably my favourite of theirs, but I really love this first album. And I remember when it came out, I just played that album so much. Their harmonies are fantastic, and every boy in that band, or man in that band, sang so well and just worked really well together. So I really enjoyed that first album from Westlife, and I think that they deserve that position. Coming in at number 6 is Backstreet Boys. Backstreet Boys are another group that had a lot of success in the 2000s as well, but they did have 3 massive albums in the 90s. And when I say massive, I mean massive. They had Backstreet Boys, they had Backstreet's Back, and they had Millennium, which of course came out in 1999. And each of those albums just had some really good songs. In the scheme of things, I probably prefer NSYNC over Backstreet Boys, but in the 90s, Backstreet Boys are the definite winners. From the first album, my favourite was Quit Playing Games With My Heart, which I think is the song that really got me into them. I liked Get Down, but when I heard Quit Playing Games With My Heart, that was when I bought their first album, and I was like, love this song. From the second album, you just can't go past Everybody, Backstreet's Back. There's such a fun song. It's an anthem, and the music video is fantastic. It's just a lot of fun. It was a bit of a cultural reset. I think it just really said American boy bands are going to be taking over from British boy bands for a while, which kind of really happened until One Direction came along. And they did really well. I think they were just a great boy band. The guys are fantastic, and they still make really good music. Like, they've been releasing albums the last few years, and they're just really good. So I think this whole idea that boy bands don't have a lot of talent, if you look at the guys on this list, so many of them are just so very talented, and these guys are great, and the songs are really, really catchy. Some of their ballads may have been a little schmaltzy for me, and I enjoyed them at the time, but they weren't my favourites of theirs. I really liked when they made a good, fun pop song, and you know, I Want It That Way or Everybody Backstreet's Back is just what those songs are, the ones that I really, really enjoy. All right, coming in at number 5, we've finally got an Australian on the list, and it is Human Nature. Very happy to have an Australian on the list, and what a great band they are. They really are amazing with their vocals. You just hear them sing and harmonise together, and you just hear the talent. I mean, they have had a Vegas residency for like 500 years, I think. Just so very talented, and so deserved that they've gotten this international success as well. They had great stuff in the noughties, but I do think my favourite stuff from Human Nature came in the 90s. Their first 2 albums, Telling Everybody and Counting Down, are just so good. I just talked about Backstreet Boys, and I said I liked their pop stuff, but on that first album, I really loved Human Nature's ballads. Wishes, and, what's the other name? Whisper Your Name. There you go. I've got too many songs floating around my head. Whisper Your Name and Wishes are just great ballads. They just sound so good, and the boys harmonise so well. Then on the second album, I loved a lot more of the pop stuff. So Don't Cry and Last to Know, really fantastic songs. And I remember when I first was coming out and I headed to the Aubrey pub in Sydney, RIP Aubrey, best pub ever. And I remember seeing Toby out there with his boyfriend at the time, and it was before he was out of the closet, and just seeing him and just feeling quite inspired by seeing him. And yeah, it sort of brought me closer to the band as well, knowing that I was just coming out and there was a gay member in that group that I loved. And yeah, it just made me feel a little bit easier about life, and just really have always respected the guys for their charity work and for just how nice they actually are. Good on you, human nature. All right, coming in at number 4 is Five. My good mate Fergus is often horrified that Five did better in Australia than Take That. It does horrify me as well, because I do love Take That, and they probably are coming up a little bit later in the list. But yes, Five did better in Australia. We just really embraced them and love them here. And I do love them as well. They had 2 fantastic albums in the 90s. They had Five and Invincible. And I just loved each and every one of their songs. When the Lights Go Out is just a perfect debut single. And then from that first album, I also love When the Time Is Through. Great song. Then on the second album, they really got into those sort of dance beats and stuff really made for dancing to. And If You're Getting Down and Keep On Moving are just really great pop songs. They've got fantastic hooks and the beat is just exceptional. So I love Five. I think that they were really bright for a short amount of time and then sort of blew out. But for that small amount of time, they were really good. We love them here in Australia and I love them as well. So good on you, Five. Coming in at number 3 is Boyzone. Boyzone were and are ridiculously talented. Ronan Keating is a fantastic frontman. And Stephen Gately from Boyzone was such an exceptional talent. And I loved Stephen. I loved his solo album. And he is really sadly missed. When he died, I was really upset because what a great talent lost way too soon. Boyzone had some fantastic albums in the 90s. There was Said and Done, A Different Beat, which was an album I played non-stop, and Where We Belong. I've written down some songs here, and there's just this massive list of songs of theirs that I love. But they were really good at doing covers. I think so many people do covers and just don't do them very well. But when Boyzone did a cover, it was just amazing. So they had Father and Son, which was great. They had Words, the Tracy Chapman song, Baby Can I Hold You? And from their greatest hits album, they had the Anne Murray song, You Needed Me. Again, that could have been really daggy, but it's just such a beautiful vocal. Ronan Keating sounds so good on that song. There's also Love Me For a Reason. Did I mention Words before? I'm not sure. The BG song, great song as well. A Different Beat, Picture of You, and No Matter What. So many good songs. They just had that harmony thing down to a treat. And I felt like they were often seen as the poor man's Take That, which is a little bit harsh, but really enjoyed them so very much. And whenever I hear a Boyzone song now, it still just makes me smile. I really wish that I could have seen them live. Coming up next is Boyz II Men. I love everyone on this list, but I think the top 2 really take it out for me. When I was coming up with the list, I didn't know what was going to be the rest of the order, but 1 and 2 I picked straight away because I love these groups. And Boyz II Men are amazing. Harmonies-wise, you don't get better than them. Their voices are all fantastic. And they really brought that whole R&B pop talking thing in. The guy with the deep voice, I love that guy's voice. And I always wanted to be that guy in a boy band. Baby. Yeah, his voice in End of the Road, exceptional. Love it. Corley High Harmony is a perfect pop record, pop R&B record. It just is exceptional. The second album was amazing, as is Evolution. Motown Philly, love it. And then backing it up with It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday. 2 you couldn't get two songs more different, and they just both work so wonderfully as singles. End of the Road, fantastic song from the second album. I love Water Runs Dry. Really solid songs, and they just seem like great guys, and they worked so very hard. I remember a story years ago. Bon Jovi was talking about being at an award show, and it was the night before, and everyone else was going out and having fun. And he walked into a room at the hotel, like the auditorium, and Boyz II Men were in there rehearsing while everyone else was off partying. And he just said it just showed their dedication to their craft. And I think that comes across when you see them perform. They are just exceptional. Absolutely love Boyz II Men, particularly End of the Road, one of my favourite songs of all time. Now, let's have a look at my favourite boy band of the 90s, and I don't think it's a surprise because I am wearing the t-shirt. It is Take That. I love Take That so very much. If I'm making a list of my favourite boy bands of all time, Take That is still the top of my list. Love them. Saw them just a few short years ago in concert. That was at the No, it wasn't at the ICC. Where was it? It was at Kudos Bank Arena here in Sydney. Here's some photos. One of the best live shows I've ever seen. I was very close. Danny Minogue was the support act. She was incredible. And Take That came on and were just brilliant. It was the three guys, and they still sound so amazing. Gary Barlow's voice is ridiculous. He just has a very distinctive voice that is just awesome. And the rest of the guys are so very talented as well. And Take That is great. It created Robbie Williams. Robbie Williams came from that group and went and had this amazing career. And that's all because of his work with Take That. We wouldn't have known him otherwise. Great albums in the 90s. So there was Take That and Party, Everything Changes, Nobody Else, and then their really great greatest hits. Artists in the 90s, because record labels love to release greatest hits album, artists often release greatest hits album and you're like, I know 3 songs here. Every song on that album was a stone cold hit. And then following it up with their great cover of How Deep Is Your Love. Love that greatest hits album. All right, let's talk about the songs that I love, because there are so many. From that first album, I really love A Million Love Songs. And I was introduced to the band because on a Sunday evening, on a Sunday, I was in late high school. I would do homework listening to American Top 40. That would finish, and then I would hop in bed and keep my headphones on, and I would listen to the UK Top 10 that was on the radio. And Take That were just starting to get big in the UK. A Million Love Songs came on, and I just was like, this group is fantastic. And then Could It Be Magic came out after that, and I was just completely sold. But what really took me from being that fan to being a super fan was the Everything Changes album. That first 2 singles, Pray and Relight My Fire, are just incredible. I love both songs so much. They are just pop perfection. Really great. Also love Love Ain't Here from that album. From the next one, Sure is great. Back for Good. It was a deserved hit around the world, and I wish that more of their songs had hit, particularly here in Australia, because we really should have listened to them more, because they are fantastic. But I'm so glad that Back for Good did do good business around the world. Never Forget, what a fantastic and emotional song. Really just love Take That. So yes, that is my list, my top 10 boy bands of the 90s. So let me know who your favourites are. You can put those in the comments below. Remember to like this video, press subscribe, and to join the social media. Pretty please. All right, I will be back again next week. And I'm going to be reviewing an album from just a few short years ago for that one. I will catch you again very soon on Rate This Pop. Tunks out.